Hello, welcome back, and I hope all is well with you guys and you had a great day. We are continuing our journey into the concept of ls command, and we have started with the second section. This is the first episode in the second section. The topic of the second section is using the argument with ls command. So here I have divided this section into three episodes. The first episode we are going to learn about necessary theory. Then the second episode will be practical example, and the last episode will be challenging question. This challenging question will be published on the following platform: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and X page to the knowledge sharing village. The link to this you can find either in the at the end of this post, or you can visit the about page for the platform's website, which is knowledgesharingvillage.com. So first we are going to give a little bit short introduction of what we are going to learn in this section. Okay, so the ls command in Linux is used to list the content of directories. By providing arguments, you can specify exactly which directories or files you want to list. This guide will cover the theory behind using argument with the ls command, how to use them effectively when they work and when they don't. And in the last episode of the section, we will conclude with the practical challenges to test your understanding. So, are you ready? As I mentioned, this episode we are going to learn theory behind using the argument with ls command. So, the first question that may arise in your mind: what it means to use arguments with the ls command. Using arguments with ls command means specifying one or more paths. Okay, one or more. That is the key, because you can't pass two arguments at the same time. Okay, so using arguments with ls command means specifying one or more paths. This path can lead to directories or files. Okay, then that you want to list. Using argument with ls command means specifying one or more paths that you want to list the content of it. Okay, this includes absolute paths. These are the paths that is starting from the root, or this character. You can pass the absolute path as argument to ls command, or relative path. Relative path are paths that is starting from your current directory or the current position that you are right now in the file system hierarchy. So we are going to talk about the specific of absolute path and relative path when we are going to start the topic of the this command, print working directory, which we will start after we being done with the concept of ls command. So the next question that you may ask: how to use argument with the ls command. It is simply add the path of the directory or a file after the ls command. In the first section we have learned the syntax for ls command. We have command, the command name, we script ls here, and then options, and then arguments, because the topic of this video of this section is using only only arguments with the ls command. So we are using this syntax. So first we write the ls, then we pass the argument. This argument can be passed to directory or a file. Okay, so here is an example. You want to list the content of this directory is called documents. Okay, so the output of this execution will be that it will list the visible content, okay, the visible content of the documents in the alphabetical order, just their name. The display will be the name of the visible content, be it file or subdirectory in the document, according to alphabetical order. Okay, so on the next question that you may ask, how it works when we are talking, when we are providing argument to the ls command. So when you provide argument to ls command, it attempts to list the content of that specified paths. This path, as we mentioned, can lead to file or a directory. The behavior differs depending on whether the argument that you have passed to the command is a directory. If it is a directory, you will get the output, one type of output. If it is a file, then you will have another type of output. If it is an invalid path, then you will get another type of output. Okay, the output will differ, and it is depending on what kind of argument that you have passed. It is a directory, a file, or a path that is not exist. Okay, so if if this path that you have passed is a directory, what will happen then? This will list the content of that directory, we can say it like this. In other words, if you pass a directory as an argument, ls command will list the visible, this is the key point, okay, because we are not using options. So the visible contents of that directory. But if you have passed a file, what will happen then? That is a good question. If you have passed a file, it will list the file itself, just the name of that file. Okay, it will show you the name of that file, the file itself. And you may ask why, what do you mean? So in other words, you can say like this: if you pass a file as an argument, ls command will list the file itself not its content. Content. It will just show you the name of that file, okay? So the third scenario, if the argument that you have passed, it is an invalid path, what will happen then? So in that scenario, invalid paths, here the output be, it will return an error indicating that the path does not exist. Does not exist. In other words, if you pass a non-existent file or directory, ls command will return an error for that specific uh, entry or path or folder or directory or file. Okay, so this is what will happen or how it works. It depends on which type of argument you have passed. If it is a directory, it will list the name of the visible content according to alphabetical order. If it is a file, it will just show the name of that file, not its content. If it is an invalid path, in that scenario, the output be an error which will indicate that this, be it a file or a directory, it does not exist. Okay, so one other important thing that you need to know is it doesn't matter where you are in the hierarchy of the file system, as long as you provide the correct path and that directory exists, you can list its content using ls command. However, there are some special consideration in regard to the root directory. Okay, and you may ask what are those considerations. Here we are going to talk about, when we talk about specifically about the root directory, and this character or symbol is shortcut for the root directory and represented the root directory, we can say generally you can list the root directory itself. You can list the content of root directory itself because it usually, again it depends on the system settings that you have set, it usually has read permission for all user. Okay, however within the root directory, root directory, there may be subdirectories subdirectories. For example, such as root. I forgot to write this symbol correctly. Root, or maybe there are other files or files that have restricted permissions, whether whether you can list these. So whether you can list these contents depend depends on the permission set by the system. So when it comes to the root directory, again it depends on which kind of permission is there, but in general, because it is readable for all user, you can list its contents. But when it comes to some subdirectory or other file that is in there, if that has restricted permission, you can not list them. So that is why we can't say, in other words, whether you can list these contents or not. It depends on the permission, which kind of permission you have, and the permission that is set by the system. Okay, so the second point in this regard, so we are going to talk about the permission. So here we are going to mention, if you have the necessary permission, you can list the content of any directory. Okay, but if you do not have the necessary permission, permissions, you may encounter permissions denies error, permission denied errors for a specific directory or files, for a specified directories. I got not place here. There we can right here for specified directories or files. So we can conclude. So while the ls command itself does not restrict listing directories higher or lower in the hierarchy, it is the permission on those directory that will affect whether you can view their contents or not. So that is a very important point to have in mind. So now we will go into the last topic of this episode. Here we are going to provide answer to this question: when the using ls command argument with ls command, when it will work and when it will usually not work. Okay, there are maybe other cases, but here are the common ones that we're going to cover. So for example, if you provide a valid path, okay, so we have ls command and we want to list the content of this directory, which is document. The output here will be the visible content, be it directory or file in this directory. It will be listed and sorted based on alphabetical order in their name. So the output will just contain the name of the content, visible content, and they will be sorted based on alphabetical order in their name. So this will happen when the argument is a directory, but here it will work. The other valid paths can be when you are passing as argument a valid file. What will happen there? Here the ls command will, the output will be just the name of this file, not its content, but just this file, the name of it. The output that we see will be some file here, not the extension, or maybe the extension also, but the name of the file. uh, I think you can see the extension, but we will see in the practical example. Okay, what will happen, we will show you there, not ruin the surprise. So if it will not work, the in these two scenario it will work. Okay, when the path or argument that you have passed to the ls command is valid. If it is a file, a directory, it will list the content, the visible content, and if it is a file, it will just list the file itself, not its content. Okay, it will not work. It will not work if the file that you have passed does not exist. For example, here we have passed as argument a invalid paths. For example, this file, be it directory or a file, when I pass this, because it does not exist, the output be an error which will indicate that something like, okay, uh, this file or this directory does not exist. Okay, we will see the result in the practical example. Okay, so to not ruin the surprise, so because this file does not exist in our system, so the output will be an error which will indicate that this file does not exist. So in the other scenario, if you do not have the right permission, so you will in this case, for example, we assume that the user that will try to list the content of this directory does not have the necessary permission. So here the output will be permission denied error, something like that. Okay, so in these two scenario you may encounter error. So finally, if you try to list a directory, here we are going to talk about this, and you don't have the right permission. If you try to list a directory or a file that does that you don't have right permission to access, you will encounter permission denied error. So in this scenario, if you do not have the right permission, when you pass uh, this as an argument, then you will encounter permission denied error. Okay, so in conclusion, the last topic of this episode, I I promise this will be the last. Yeah, okay. Usage for, we have mentioned this a little bit above. Usage from any directory in the hierarchy. Okay, I couldn't find a suitable title here, but this will be, uh, for example, uh, doesn't matter where you are in the file system. Okay, you can use the ls command with the arguments to list any directory or files regardless of your current position in the file system hierarchy. The key is to provide the correct paths and to ensure that you have necessary permission for the correct permission. So it doesn't matter where you are in the file system directory, you can provide argument and list the content of your desired directory or file, as long as you provide the correct paths and you have the right permission. Then you can list those. If it is a directory, you can list the visible content, and if it is a file, then it will show just the file name itself, not the content of that file. So this was the last section of the first episode. In the next episode, which will be second episode, we are going to show you, I think, around 10 example or scenario when we are going to use the argument with ls command. So if you have any question up until now, you can put your question writing either in the commenting area or send it to me directly via the contact link that is in the description of this video. Otherwise, see you in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye.